to Boosted Rolls, our Machine and Hordes podcast focused on EU meta, tournaments and tactics. My name is Tomasz and I play Circle.
Hi, I'm Simon and I also play Circle. And today with us we have a special guest who has been accused of touching people inappropriately with Harbinger, mainly the England WTC team, so it's alright. So introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm James Sykes. I'm on England Knights, and I've just won the Welsh Masters.
He has indeed, and that's why he's with us today. So that's what we're going to chat about.
Alright, tell me something about the Welsh Masters. Where is it, how it was organized, and how many people were there?
There were 188 players, I think, in the end, Simon? Something like that.
I think it might have been one or two less. I think we had a couple of dropouts. But yeah, basically almost 190, yeah.
It's in Cardiff. It's every year. This is the 10th one, organised by Martin Jenkins.
I'm not going to take credit for that. This is the first time I turned up.
Yeah, it's a pretty prestigious event, and there's a lot of travel from around Europe to it.
How many times have you been?
This is my second. I went last year. This is only my second.
And how did you do?
Last year, I came 22nd.
Hey.
I was like 5'2", I think. Okay.
All right. Also with Menoth.
Question. Yeah, I think it was with Menoth. I think I only played High Reclaimer last year, though.
Right. No comment.
And were there any players from United States, Australia or Canada?
No. I think there might have been a couple of Americans, because they had a Best American trophy, didn't they?
Did they?
They did, yeah. I can't remember.
Well, in which case there were at least three, because it was a minimum requirement of three.
I think Cole won it, who was in Scotland. I think he won Best American.
Okay. And I guess, does Norbert count as American?
I guess he does.
Yeah.
Alright, and how was your travel, guys? Was it far away from place you live, or how was it?
It's quite a simple trip. Like, it's just get in a car. We drove for 4 hours. Then we were at Firestorm. Nothing dramatic.
I had something dramatic. I missed my fucking flight. My bus was 45 minutes late, and then I got stopped for 20 minutes of security because they could go through my gaming bag. Because last time I was travelling with it, I was doing I was putting some models together, so I had my file in my bag, and I'd totally forgotten about it for filing down the models, the mold lines and that. Totally forgot. It was like hidden in a pocket right at the back at the bottom, and they spent 20 minutes tearing my bag apart trying to find it, and I ended up missing my flight by about 2 minutes. It was a bit annoying. But other than that, yeah, I just flew to London, met up with Ben Hampshire, and then drove over as well. Like it's a simple drive.
Oh, I didn't know you drove over with Ben.
Yeah. I was staying at his place before and after because of the way the flights lined up.
Oh.
And there wasn't really a good airport close. Sorry, Tomasz, what are you saying?
It's good that you didn't decide to take a plane that lands in a day of the tournament.
Oh yeah, I'd have been properly boned. That would have been like Johan.
Yeah. All right, tell me something about the tournament format. How many lists and what's the event? Is it Masters, Champions?
It's
up to you.
Yeah, sure. It's a 3-list Masters event. 190 players, so it should in theory be 8 rounds, but it's 7, and at the end of day 1 they cut to the top 8. So I believe at the end of day 1 there were 12 undefeated players, and 4 of them got knocked out basically.
Technically, yeah. So I should explain that a little bit more. Just in that what he said is absolutely true. So it was the end of day 1 cut to top 8. There were indeed 12 players undefeated at that point. And they were kind of knocked out, but they weren't really knocked out. It just meant that they were unable to win. Yeah. So, like, they could still come second if they went undefeated all the way. And then there was the winner. They would come second, so they could come second, but just they could not win. That was the only way that it worked, and it's been a format that's been under discussion. And you, as the winner, what do you think about it?
Well, I was perfectly fine with it, but if I was second and undefeated, I might feel differently. But that did actually happen for the second year in a row.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And did it affect how people play? Like, instead of going for an assassination, they wanted to farm some CPs or something like that?
It wasn't really in my mind, but it's like not something I can really control, is it? At the end of the day, like first tiebreaker is strength of schedule, and you've only got so much say over that.
All right.
So
yeah, that said, it was absolutely in my mind and lost me my second game. So yeah, the sort of CPVP thing. I know for a fact that 2 players that I spoke to, both circle players, were seeing possibilities for Lord of the Feast kills and not taking them in order to score more CPVP. And it was definitely in my mind as well that in such a massive field, there would be, like, for example, I finished 5-2, but there were so many people that finished 5-2 ahead of me with a better strength of schedule. And it's true that there's not much you can do about your strength of schedule, but, tiebreakers, I suppose, matter a bit.
yeah.
I think when SOS is your main tiebreaker, it's less of an issue. But if CPs were ever the first tiebreaker, if it was a tournament organizer that decided that SOS kind of sucks, which it does, then CPs would become the main thing, which would also suck, but for different reasons.
You'd see a lot of farming then, I think.
Yes.
Which is not the best.
No. Yeah.
I think in the end there were 40. The 5-2 places went all the way down to 41, like 41st place, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a thick field. Like, it wasn't messing around.
All right, let's talk some games. Round 1, what was the scenario? And maybe before that, we'll talk about your pairing. We always forget about them.
Yeah, we do always forget the pairings. So we actually had, it's the word pairing, we're so used to it, but it's weird when you've got 3 lists. So, as James said, it was a triad format, so we had 3 lists. James, why don't you kick us off? What were your 3 lists?
Yeah, sure. So I brought my main list, which is always going to be Harbinger with Adjudicator in Faithful Masses. It's all the normal Harby stuff, champions, monks, and then 3 units of initiates, which are pretty new, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And they're pretty incredible. And then
did you have the dwarves, the Idrians, or the other ones?
I had Minidrians and then Max Dwarves. I've also got Hand of Silence in there because he's amazing. He's so good.
So is it the same list that Billy is running, but with different battle group?
Basically. So I've talked to Billy about this quite a bit, and he doesn't currently rate the Adjudicator as the battle group, so he's playing Double Crusader Devout.
And what's the argument there? How does that argument go?
So it changes your matchups around quite a bit. So the idea is that the Adjudicator gives you a lot more reach and a lot more poke into your opponent, because with the Crusader Devout they can kind of stand off a bit, you can't really threaten them at any kind of range, and they can kind of take time to set themselves up, and I find that sometimes Tharn can really abuse that, and you can get Lord of the Feast into ridiculous positions and be very scary with him, and threaten with Blood Weavers and that kind of thing. But when you've got Adjudicator, you kind of they can't do that. You kind of rain death on them, all those things that are good against Harby, that you can just kill from a distance.
And how are we killing Feast without Roven?
Oh, we're not directly shooting Feast. Feast is always going to come in at some point.
Right, we're just trying to get some secondary blasts.
We're pushing him back. We're pushing him back a little bit. He can't take up central position in the board.
Got it.
We're taking care of Blood Weavers, taking care of Blood Trackers, Wolf Riders, things like that. So I find it does actually really help into farm.
Okay, and so your version, the Adjudicator version, you feel is stronger into Tharn. Anything else that it's stronger into? Ret, perhaps?
I think it is actually quite a bit better into Ret. You're quite right. Any matchup where the Crusaders aren't really doing much, which is quite a few of them, in my opinion, because you've got these, threat 10, quite derpy non-Pathfinder jacks. They do hit hard, which is fine, but they don't project their threat very far, where Adjudicator, is always something to bear in mind.
Sure. But I think it would be silly of us to, disrespect Billy, who's quite a hell of a player as well. So what's his argument? What's his counter? Why does he suggest that the Crusader battle group might be better?
So the argument is because to get this Adjudicator on my list, I've given up quite a bit, basically. I've made unpleasant sacrifices.
Uh-huh.
So I don't get the Devout, so I can be spelled, which is scary. I also lose 1 monk, which is not ideal. And I also lose the Hierophant. So there's some yucky decision making to get Judicator in there. But in testing, I've had very good results.
You get tickled a little bit by Wormwood then?
In what sense? That he strangleholds me and things
well, in
like
the
that?
sense that, yeah, Judicator can get stranglehold, or...
Oh, Judicator can't get stranglehold.
I mean, yeah, either, like, he can... Like, you've got to have the anti-spell on him every round, right?
Yeah. That's true anyway. That's true anyway.
Okay. And then... But Harby can just get nuked a couple of times, bring Cassius back, rinse, repeat, right? You don't have Hierophant to heal her up.
She heals herself most rounds. But, and I've got objectives and things like that. And she's not trivial to hit, because she'll likely have the wall.
Not trivial to hit. Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, so he's needing like 11, so the chances of him like one rounding her with a couple of strangleholds are not that high.
Okay.
It does make things like that a bit scarier. But
Judicator's
also good at blocking line of sight to her, in conjunction.
Okay. And so his list contains those elements, basically. He's got the second monk, he's got the Hierophant, and he's got the Devour.
That's basically the entire difference between the lists.
Okay, and what does that make him specifically stronger into, apart from that? So the list we just mentioned, so Wormwood, Rasheth, maybe, I don't know, Ran or something stupid if he ever pops his up again. But anything else?
I think it's just a slightly more generalist list. He's playing the super safe, like, builds itself kind of list, where you take Harby, you take all the things that are good with Harby, you take the Devout to keep her super safe. And what I've done is, I've taken that list, and I've decided I'm going to be greedy. Like, as greedy as I can be, I'm going to take this huge Colossal that hits super hard, and I'm just going to try and play safe. Rather than take the tools to keep me safe.
Okay. And so, but I mean, the result seems to be that you have a better game into Tharn, and for context, Circle were by far the most played faction there, right? 37 or something ridiculous?
Oh no, it wasn't quite that high.
It was 27?
It was about 27, yeah.
So I knew it was 7, I just couldn't remember whether it was 20 or 30. But it was lots. It was more than any other faction.
They were the most populous faction by like 8 or 10 players, I think.
Yeah.
So I was very happy to have a build that I felt was good into Circle, specifically.
Okay. So that's your Harbinger list. Sorry, that was a hell of a long section. But I think, to be honest, I think a lot of people want to hear that, especially the battle group argument. So I thought it was worth asking about.
Yeah, it's the most important list we're going to talk about anyway. So
sure,
that's fine. Then I've got a High Reclaimer list, which is identical to the one that Billy runs, purely by chance. But it's High Reclaimer with Judicator and a bunch of beefy boys, Incinerators, Vengers, things like that.
Yeah.
He didn't get played anyway, but I've got a lot of reps with that list, so I thought I'd take him. And then my third list was Krios 3, with a list I wrote the night before. That's what happens with Krios 3. I go to an event, I write a Krios 3 list I've never played, and end up dropping it into Grimkin.
Okay.
And it's worked out well so far. So in the final of Blood and Oil last year, I played Ben with a Krios 3 list that I'd written the night before as well, and won that.
Thomas, did you see any Krios 3 at your tournament?
Yeah, I saw a guy running it here, and I believe Tom Guan was running one.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, in Canada at the Zoo.
I've got a lot of time for Krios.
What's Krios' shtick? I'm not very up on men.
He's a big tanky boy on a horse. That's this shtick. He makes things hit super hard, like especially Vengers and Gravis and things like that. He's got Ignite and he gives them all signs of importance.
So what does he do into clocks? Just send some boys in, let them hit hard, let them stutter away, send in more boys? Or?
What he does into clocks is he force hammers them, knocks them down, and Judicator kills them. He's got a magic with Sev 0. He's got a Magic 8 force hammer, which is pretty nice at range 12.
Not bad.
So I think it's quite nice tech, because the clocks like to range out a bit, don't they? They don't always stick within 3 of a Cage Ranger, and it did come up. Spoilers.
Fair enough. All right. And so that is your 3 lists. Yeah, High Reclaimer, Harbinger, Krios 3. I took Morvana 2 in Tharn with a Storm Raptor, All the usual solos: Feast, Shaman, Mist Speaker, Night Witch, and Wolf Rider Champion. Then I had double Blood Weavers in that list, single Ravagers with UA, and a maximum unit of Wolf Riders. It was my attempt at an answer to Harbinger, and also pretty good into other Tharn. Then I had Bradicus with 3 Walled Guardians, 5 Walled Watchers, 3 Stone Shapers, 2 Shifting Stones, 1 Wayfarer, 1 Sentry Stone. I owned precisely none of those models. I think, no, maybe I do have 1 or 2 of them, but really not a lot. I just tried to think of what was the skewiest thing I could think of and put it down on the paper, largely because I didn't know that Welsh was a 3-list event until shortly before the event. And then I had Iona, also with a Storm Raptor. I think there was only 3 people that took Iona with a Storm Raptor. But I just find the Storm Raptor to be far too good, and so I put it in both lists.
Subscribe to the Church of Mark.
Well, it's funny because I was doing it before I chatted with him. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, you've got to take a Raptor." I was like, "I know, I already do. Like, I have a Raptor in every list, because why the hell wouldn't you? They're just ridiculous." Usual stuff again, all the usual White Mane Shaman, Mist Speaker, Night Witch. This time with a Crockpot, single Blood Weavers with Harris Specs, and double Ravagers, both. So usual Tharn nonsense, and that was my 3.
Yeah, but you should give credits to Mark. He invented the Storm Raptor.
Mark invented the Storm Raptor. Yes, of course he did. Yes,
He might have invented Farns.
Yeah. My
I've
bad.
read
Sorry.
it on the internet, so it's true.
We'll call it Mark's list from now on, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I played Morvana 1 4 times and Mark's list 3 times. And I'd like to point out that I lost the first time I played Mark's list.
It's probably his fault.
Yeah. I mean, if he's going to take credit for the list, he has to take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
It was a liability. We'll explain more about that later on. Speaking of which, so before the tournament started, we actually had a little steamroller on Friday, and I ended up playing 4 rounds. James sadly didn't make it to the venue soon enough to join in that one, but it was good. An Irish guy from their WTC team. Oh God, I've forgotten his name. Gave me a bottle of whiskey and everything.
Kieran, right? Kieran Bolger.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, lovely bloke, willing to sort out the tournament. He didn't even wasn't able to play. He just sort of put it in, and then suddenly someone dropped and he jumped in to sort of fill the spot. Really made the Friday work and really pushed us along to get the games moving, even though everyone was fighting around. So fantastic. I got to play a few practice games, including a game against Mark's Double Raptor. So Mark's other list. And I should have got stomped, but he lost the dice roll to go first, even with +1, and then he missed a re-roll Signs Importance 8, I think it was, or 9, to kill my Feast and about 4 Ravagers with his, and so he just shook my hand and walked off. It was a bit sad, really, but I understood, and then in the end I got ground out, which is pretty standard, by Zal 2. So it was the first time I played against Zal 2, and I was really happy to get the chance to play it before the main event, because I was expecting to hit it in the main event at some point. And Jake had spent a long time talking to me about it when we chatted about the suit. So it was really nice to get a game in. And it turns out that list is quite well tuned. The Supreme Guardian is not messing around.
Yep. So Jake won the event?
Nice little tournament. Again, please?
Jake won this event? The steamroller?
Jake won... No. The steamroller was won by a... Oh, God. I've forgotten his name again. It's dreadful. I think it was another Irish fella, although he may have been Scottish, and either way, if I get that wrong, they're going to kill me. Anyway, one of those, it was a Celtic gentleman. And he was playing Zal 2, and I think he won listed Zal 2. I could be wrong, but I think he did. And he did pretty well with it. So, it was a good game. We went right to the end with that. And as a result of that, I actually missed registration for the main event, because it was going on during the steamroller, but I was still playing the finals. And then I just wandered off, because I thought everything was fine. And then I get a call the next morning from Mark saying, "Where the hell are you? Why haven't you registered for the event?" At which point I had to pour away a cup of tea, which I'll never forgive him for, and then drive into the event very quickly and register. So yeah, so that was the prelude to the event. Right, I've taken enough time with that, so I'll let you jump into the next bit.
Yep, let's talk about the main event and round one. What was the scenario? What was the terrain there? And what was your opponent playing, James?
So round one, we were on Recon 2, and I was matched up against a guy called Luke Jordan, who was playing Retribution. And his three lists were something like Assyria, Gareth 2, some combination of Retcasters, I can't remember.
It's usually Assyria, Gareth 2 and something, isn't it?
Something, whatever. But we end up with Assyria double trident into Harby. And when we do the list reveal, he pulls a face of extreme surprise that I'm not dropping Reclaimer. I'm not sure why. But yeah, it was an interesting game because it really set a tone for the weekend, in which we were basically playing a mini game within the game, in which he spent every turn trying to chip my models down, and then try and kill Harbinger. That was like the theme for the weekend.
Every turn?
Not every turn. He was like angling for position so he could have one go at it, basically.
All right.
So it proceeded well. We were doing a few scenario bits, and it was clear he was he was going to lose the scenario eventually because he couldn't kill my monks. He had no means to do so.
No Grievous Wounds at all in that list?
Nope. No Grievous Wounds. Not really accurate enough. He couldn't get the monk out away from his flag or his zone. I'm scoring.
God, he must have been sad.
Yeah, I'm scoring. He's not scoring. So he has one big turn where he pushes everything into my boys, trying to chip me down with martyrdoms. And then he's got one trident, and his entire plan is to get this one trident to kill me. So as it pans out, he charges my objective. He rolls 2 shots on his trident for the sides that can see me, and I've got 5 shield guards.
Oops.
So I think things didn't pan out for him, unfortunately, and I ended up taking that one on scenario 6-1.
That was a bit sad. So my first round was against Dirk, who was one of the Belgian team, I think. He was also playing Harbinger. He had some other stuff, but as soon as I see men off, I know what I'm dropping. So Recon 2, as you said, and I tried to drop what I consider my sort of anti-Harby list, and by that I mean it gives me a chance. A lot of Circle players think that we have really big problems into Harbinger, and I am very tempted to agree. But it's one of those that I've been, rather than running away from, I just sort of keep trying. And I think with practice, I'm getting a little bit better at matchup. And I'd like to say that I can give it a go. I might well lose, but I can give it a go. So gave it a go, and essentially with the Raptor and the Bloodweavers, so I've got a reasonable amount of Grievous Wounds in the list, with Bloodweavers with Divine Inspiration, I've got Gallows Grove, and then I've got the Raptor, and I've got the Wolf Riders. So the Wolf Riders are there because they can leap into the feet and contest during the feat, and also because they've just got a very high volume of attacks. And so, yeah, with Morvana rerolls and with jumping into the back and so on and so forth, you can actually get some hits off, chip some stuff, and if some stuff has already been martyred or whatever, then you can keep forcing more martyrs, basically. And obviously they're very good to feet back, because you get cavalry models for 1 health.
Did he have the Judicator in his build, just out of curiosity?
Indeed.
Oh,
yes.
Right, okay.
Yes, I think every Harby... did he have... He had Adjudicator. I'm pretty sure all 3 of my opponents had Adjudicator.
Right, okay.
That I'm not 100%. The problem is that the Harby games all kind of meld into one a little bit. So if I make mistakes, I apologise, but they are incredibly similar. it is all about just trying to proc their shield guards, martyrs, keep your Gallows Grove alive, kill the fucking monk, and then try and get feast in to have a good turn. When they finally make a mistake with either the martyrs or the shield guards, or preferably both, then you get feast in. In this game, I got a reasonably good pulse with the Raptor. That forced a lot of martyrs and a couple of shield guards and so on. That allowed me to get some repeat shots into the monk. That forced a couple more martyrs, and so he was sort of a bit low and on the back foot. And the Wolf Riders did their job, contested, and we ended up in a very, as you'd expect with Harby, a very scenario grindy thing. But my Wolf Riders were doing a very good job of contesting. And when mixed in with Bloodweavers behind a wall, I sort of had Wolf Riders, Bloodweavers, sort of weaved in together with Annoyance. And like everyone has trouble hitting Harby, but Harby has trouble hitting that. And so he basically had to spend a lot of turns clearing it model by model with Hand of Silence, who was just sitting there unkillable on defense 17 behind a wall. And I sent an entire unit of Bloodweavers at him, and they just slowly died. None of them touched him. He's a very upsetting model.
He's so good in that list. Like so good.
He is. But eventually that game was very, very, very tight and went down to time. So my opponent, I was contesting well enough and pressuring well enough that he had to answer. He couldn't just clock back to me, and he wasn't able to. So I managed to just take it with time.
Cool. Congrats.
Thank you.
So how was your round 2? What was the scenario and how did it go? James?
I can't remember what the scenario was. What did we say?
It was standoff.
Oh, it was standoff. Right, so round 2, I draw a French guy called Quentin, and he is also playing Ret, except this time I get Gareth 2 in Defenders with an AFG and a bunch of jacks.
If you'd mind gamed him and dropped High Reclaimer, would you smash Gareth?
I think he might be in trouble, but I was kind of on the idea that I'd be playing Harby every game unless it went otherwise. Because
why?
I don't know whether I mentioned, but I haven't had too much time to play War Machine recently.
Okay.
Because I've got a new baby.
Oh, congratulations!
So, thank you. So in the last
maybe you know that I'm not a massive fan of kids. That doesn't mean I can't congratulate other people.
So in the last 3 months, I've played like maybe 20 games, and they've all been Harbinger. So
okay.
And I've played Harbinger for years and years, and it's very intuitive. I think, like, I feel very intuitive with her. So just play what you're comfortable with. So
yeah, why not? Yeah.
I thought I'd drop her as many times as possible.
And how did you feel going into this matchup?
Into Gareth 2?
Yeah.
It was my first time playing it. I do think Gareth's got quite a decent bit of game into Harby. Like, I think Mortality's quite nice. I think Mortality's good at chipping away, basically. You can kill the pieces that you need to kill of Harby's. You can even kill a monk if you have to with Gareth aiming and witch marking. So I think he's got some good tools for it, and especially if you take things like tridents, which have really good volumes of attacks, and things like that.
Did you meet a single rep player who didn't have 2 tridents in every single one of his lists?
This man did not have any tridents in this list, which is pretty remarkable in my opinion. I have no idea. he had the cricket instead, the AFG.
Okay, but it's a bit like meeting a Harby with no initiates, isn't it? It's like, what are you doing?
He had some tridents in his other list, so it's not like he didn't own them. So
what on God's green earth were they not doing in his Gareth list? Anyway, all right, sorry, go on.
So yeah, it was quite an interesting game where basically we were fairly even on scenario to start with, and he was doing a little bit of attrition work, applying mortality to initiates, and he had one good turn on turn 3 where he witch marked 1 unit, and then hard rolled a mortality with Silas onto champion as well, and cleared a zone. Cleared my zone of 3 initiates and a champion, which you might be aware is like quite a feat for any caster to kill that much stuff of Harbies.
It is.
So at that point, like, it was very even. But then we got to a point late on where I was scoring and he just didn't have the gas left to start killing my stuff because I'd been chipping away all of his boys because he was playing in defenders and everything's a bit squishy. He's got Stormfall Archers, he's got Brisavas for some reason. And
again, I'd like to stress at this point that he doesn't have tridents.
Correct.
Right, okay, yeah.
So all of his stuff's getting chipped away. He's still got mortality and he's still putting it on stuff, but he physically can't get through the initiates anymore. Like, even when you mortality them, they're still arm 19, you've still got to kill them, right?
Yeah.
So he kind of loses the ability to kill my stuff at some point, and he's got a monk in his zone. He's got initiates in both the other zones. I'm scoring, he's not scoring, which is kind of like a theme as well for the weekend. a theme for Harby.
Sure.
And I think it finishes on round maybe 5, with him like having 30 seconds on clock and me winning 7-2.
Okay. Round 2 was probably my most shameful game of War Machine that I've ever played. I also had a Frenchman, and he was playing Legion. And for anyone that don't know, I played Legion since I started playing the game until a couple of months ago when I switched to Circle on the basis that Legion are crap and that Circle smashed them to pieces. So I dropped Iona because Legion just can't beat Iona. And he dropped Abbey 2 in Oracles, which I've spent months telling everyone is dreadful. We get going, and he pretty immediately finds out what I'm talking about. So his Seraph gets pretty brutalized by the Raptor. And since he hadn't listened or hadn't understood, I mean, he wasn't a native speaker, so maybe he just didn't hear the announcement at the start, but he hadn't understood that the terrain piece in the middle was in fact a hill, not an obstruction. And so he hid his Seraph behind it, where it proceeded to get blasted to pieces. He had a few... I did say I'm playing Iona, yeah. So Storm Raptor's blasting stuff to pieces. He's got Proteus and a couple of Scythians that he puts up front, and he sends a Neref to either side with some solos and stuff. I ambush him with the Bloodweavers, murder some stuff on one side. Wolfried, the champion, comes up the other side and murders another Neref, basically puts it down to cripples 2 aspects on its own, murders it. One unit of Ravagers come in on one side and murder the majority of a Scythian, and then he feats and tries to give it his all. He does actually manage to kill an entire unit of Ravagers with Proteus, so 4-inch reach and Grievous Wounds is the only thing that you've got really against that, and Proteus is really, really good. So
and Scythian was there, right?
Scythians are there, but they're absolutely shit awful. And anyone trying to claim that they're the answer to Tharn, no, they are specifically designed to do nothing but beat Tharn, and they are passably good at it. And then they trade down anyway. Like, they are just... Oh, God, don't get me started. Right, so the Proteus goes in, murders a lot of Ravagers, and he actually, like, his rolls were decent enough to get the... I mean, they didn't need to be that good. With Abbey 2 feet and Alpha Hunter, he managed to kill a Ravager that had Surefoot on it that was engaged with Abbey. And if he hadn't got that, which he should have got that, but had he not got that, he just loses. Because Abbey's sat in the middle of the field next to some Ravagers. That's not great. And he doesn't get the Alpha Hunter, which he needs. Anyway, he goes in, kills a bunch of stuff on the right side, and sort of, I think he scores 2, so he scores like his zone, Circle zone. I then bring up Iona, feat, and I think the Storm Raptor takes another round of shooting, or he might have started charging at that point. At some point, my Storm Raptor just started charging stuff. I think I'm just shooting at that point. I kill a lot of stuff, so now he's left with about 5 models. But in order to do that, he scores another 1, I think. I didn't bother contesting because I was just murdering him so badly. At this point, he's got his elbows on the table, his head in his hands. I'm apologising about Iona. I'm just like, sorry, man, this is how it goes. There's nothing you can do about it, really. Have a good game next game or whatever. And so he scores 2. So now he's like 3 up. And then he has another turn, tries to do what he can, just sort of sends stuff in, puts stuff in all the zones, attacks what he can. He did what he could with what he had. And so I'm looking at the table and I've got any number of ways to win. And so I basically got greedy and went for all of them. And so I tried to score 3 in one turn. I left each beast that was contesting each zone on about 3 boxes. I was like, well, shit. Can't get that, because I was basically, as I said earlier, I was in that sort of CPVP mentality of, can I score some more here? Can I get more stuff? I was like, well, never mind, because I haven't actually used the Storm Raptor or Feast yet, and I can get them both onto Abby, no problem at all. So never mind, the scenario plan hasn't worked. I'll just go and finish off Abby. Go in with the Storm Raptor, fly next to Proteus in my zone, sort of blast the crap out of Abby, and then send in Feast. Rolls, okay, semi-good, not great. Feast then goes in and misses in the back on mat 10. Hits, doesn't do enough. Leaves her on 3 or 4 boxes with Grievous Wounds. So all of these 4 things that could have saved the game didn't. And I was like, well, crap. So had to go with Iona, cast Abattoir. Got the Storm Raptor because I thought, Storm Raptor will just finish off Proteus, no problem at all. I score 1, he'll never score again, and I can just farm him. Storm Raptor missed, and it was actually me that noticed he'd won before he did. So he then scored 1 because Abby was actually still stood in her zone. I wasn't contesting because I hadn't bothered because I didn't think I needed to. And just absolutely shameful. I cannot stress how embarrassing this was. So, and this isn't to say that the guy was a bad player, it's just the fact that it's Legion and that he was getting tabled incredibly hard, and then I just lost. So he scored 1 on my turn. I scored 0 because none of the contesting models had died. And instead of just finishing them off with Storm Raptor and Feast, I decided to kill Abby for some reason, unnecessarily. And then what? So he scores, and then he's like, well, hang on a second. So I'm on 6, yeah, and you're on 2, yeah, and I'm just waiting for him to clock back and win. And he's like, right, okay. Starts his turn. I'm like, okay, and then he goes, wait, hang on. So if I just clock back, I win. I was like, yes, there we go. That's the moment we were waiting for. And it was hilarious because I don't know who was more surprised, like me or him. You genuinely couldn't work out who was more surprised. But he won, and then I took a lot of shit from everyone for the rest of the weekend, which was very fair. But that was my round 2. So I've chatted too long about that. But yeah, it was absolutely shameful.
I have a question. If he didn't win on scenario, could he win the attrition game by just healing his war beasts and killing stuff around them?
No.
All right.
He had no chance at all.
All right.
If we had another turn, I could have just picked my win condition.
All right. So round 3. What was the scenario and what did you face, James?
I ended up facing one of my teammates from the England teams, from England Roses, Paul Sheard, playing Circle. And he's got a Morph 2 list that's quite similar to yours, I think, Simon. I'm not sure.
I think he was playing Morph 2 long before I was, but yeah, I think our lists are similar, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up playing into Morph 2, as it turned out.
Do you have double Bloodweavers?
He only had single Bloodweavers, I think.
With Haruspecs?
I'm not entirely sure.
Were they rolling with Divine Inspiration?
Let me have a check. See what he's got.
Okay.
He's got 1 Bloodweavers, 2 Ravagers, Wolf Riders.
And no Haruspecs?
He does have a Haruspecs, yep. 2 Shaman, Lord of the Feast, Storm Raptor.
Okay. It was on Spread the Net, right?
Yes, it was on Spread the Net. It was quite an interesting game, actually, as things turned out. So, he gets first, which is unfortunate, because I don't like going second in the Varn matchup. I like to be in the middle of the table before they can go. That's quite nice when you can run Hand of Silence up and threaten everything.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to go first if I'm playing against Harby.
Yeah, absolutely. I absolutely want to go first too. So he wins first turn. He gets way up the board, which I'm not too happy about. I think we're both aware that this is going to be an exceptionally long game because I've got no RFP. He's got like medium martyrdom outs. So he's got feast and he's got. I think that's about it.
Does he have a grove?
No, he has no grove.
Okay.
I think he's just got feast.
And Blood Weavers.
Oh, he's got the blood weavers as well, but spoiler alert, they never make it to combat.
Right.
Oh, actually, that's a lie. They might have killed dwarf, but they ambush in from the right later on.
Okay.
So we're kind of like going at it on spread the net. You know, I score a couple of points because I'm going second. I think I score.
When do you feet?
I feet on the bottom of 2, which I think is fairly normal and expected.
Pretty standard. Yep.
Yeah. Try and stop him getting into my zone.
Did he ambush into your feet turn?
He did not know. He ambushed a turn later.
So he ambushed turn 3. So he didn't ambush and just run behind your feet. He waited, held it.
He did, yes.
Okay.
And do you think it's the right move to ambush them into Harbinger? That's usually playing kind of in the middle, surrounded, so everything is in martyrdom range?
I think it's actually an okay kind of. I think it's okay to ambush them in that matchup because he can pressure me from the side at least that way. I can't spread too far out with my dwarves and stuff, and they, I'm kind of a bit more compacted. But also, if they're deployed like on the table, they're just going to die to Judicator. At least this way,
All right.
get to physically like come onto the table and not die immediately. In a threatening position.
Although that's what happened.
More or less, yeah. They did make it onto the table, at least.
Right, well that's a good start.
So yeah, we're kind of doing a back and forth on spread the net. I'm scoring a bit. I think I score the middle zone and my left zone. No, I scored
Yeah, that's a pulse off.
No, he didn't at any point, I think. I think the Raptor kind of ends up... So the Raptor kind of ends up bullying my left flag, because I've got a monk and a champion over there, who are kind of like skirmishing with his stuff over there and contesting his zone and doing things like that. But it ends up with the Raptor migrating down to my flag, basically, to stop me scoring it.
Okay.
But I make up the deficit by clearing the middle of zone a couple of times. And we're kind of maintaining parity on scenario. Because I can't score my flag, but he can't score his flag either, because there's been one hero champion just stood there the entire game. I think he literally he gets there turn 2, and he's there on turn 6. Just standing there. Just taking hits, retaliatory striking people. So what that game comes down to in the end is we're doing a bit of back and forth scoring, and then Paul realises that he's featured for 13 models. I've killed nearly all of them again. So what he does is he runs 2 Wolf Riders and his Storm Raptor to engage Harby. He just runs them over the house, like almost base to base with Harby, just engaging me, trying to force me to do something about it.
Over your wall?
Yes. No, not over my wall. He runs his Raptor runs like 14 inches round the back, over the house, round into like my back. There's just a Raptor sitting in melee with Harby.
Right.
It was the scenario secured?
For me, it was pretty secured at that point. I think I was like 2 or 3 points up by then. And
I mean, could you just ignore them and win on scenario?
Not that turn, no. I wasn't
Right.
I wasn't far enough ahead to just... Because the Raptor was contesting the circle zone. I couldn't obviously score his zone or his flag. Because there were still a few Ravagers left over there. So in the end, what ends up having to happen is... I've got his Raptor engaged by Hand of Silence. So when at some point I'm going to have to take a free strike with Harby, because the way the order of activations works, I can't charge the Raptor with Judy because Harby's in the way. So she's engaged by 2 Wolf Riders as well. So I have the Dwarves come over and try and kill them, and they kill one of them. So at that point I just have to leave combat with Harby and take 2 free strikes. So I'm on full health. I've got max camp. And the Wolf Rider needs a 7 to hit me. She hits. I think he rolls quite poorly though and does about 6 damage, which I can mitigate. And then because the Raptors in Awe and Ashen Vale, he needs a 10 to hit Harby, and he hits her as I'm running out of combat. I think he rolls quite well on it and leaves me on.
He needs a 10. He's on 6. He's free striking on an 8. He needs 18.
Yes, because Ashen Vale and Awe.
Oh, plus 4, and you're on 14 base.
Yes. So he hits the hard 10. He rolls like a 12 or something for damage, and it does, I think, about 11 boxes to me. It's dice -1, right? How 18?
Yeah.
So he does 11 damage to me, leaves me on 5 or 6. And the Harby just like goes for a jog across the entire board, gets behind the Judicator, and feels okay again. But like I was saying to Paul afterwards, that was the last thing I was expecting, basically. And my hands, my hands were just shaking when I was trying to negotiate that turn. Like, you think you're safe, you think you've won the game, and then all of a sudden there's a gargantuan in melee with you. It's scary. So after that, Judicator charges the bird, kills the bird like in 3 hits or something. Judicator.
Yeah, that's pretty trivial.
POW 25. Yeah, and
25. He's 21 base.
Yeah, plus battle.
2 from battle,
plus
2
Hand of
from...
Vengeance.
Got it.
He's Mat 8, POW 25 with signs. So he just explodes this bird. And from that point, there's not really much Paul can do because of everything. And according to this, I end up closing it out 12-7.
Oh, nice for the CPs. I saw that casual 10 roll that he did with the bird. He was just like, 10, alright. Rolled it. That was pretty good.
I like shat myself at that point.
You're like, oh, I'll just go and fetch some spare pants, 1 second. Yeah. Fucking hell.
It was a funny play, and even in the circumstances, it might even have been the right play. Like, he was not winning by any other metric. So, I guess he had to force the issue.
Fair. I mean, imagine, another player could have definitely cocked that up and, like, not managed to kill the Wolf Riders and then accidentally blocked the landing spot for the Judicator or something. Like, something could have gone wrong.
It could have gone wrong. Like I said, it's a very nerve-wracking thing to suddenly have a gargantuan in melee with you. So
yeah.
I like to think I'm normally fairly composed, but it did shit me up a bit.
And there was a mathematical chance to kill Harby on the free strike, right?
There was a mathematical chance, especially if the Wolf Rider does a bit more damage. Like,
had the Wolf Rider chipped you, you'd have been cacking it quite a bit more.
Exactly, because she only rolled like an 11 or something on the Weapon Master free strike, so it only ended up being like 1 box to me. But if she does if she spikes and rolls like an 18 or something, then it becomes a lot more possible all of a sudden. And
was he not within? Oh no, he can't Scales of Fate on free strikes.
I don't actually know. Maybe not.
Pretty sure he can't, because I've been playing that list and I'm pretty certain I've checked it and I don't.
Right. Okay.
Just double checking now to make sure I'm not giving.
It's in activation, right?
Right. I'm pretty sure it is. During its activation, yeah.
Okay, well that's for the best.
yeah, because if he'd had that would have been actually a reasonable chance. Like re-rolled attack rolls, re-rolled damage rolls. Not impossible. My round 3 was against a really lovely bloke. I only remember that he had a particularly curly afro, despite being a white man. And he was playing mercenaries. I dropped Iona. He dropped, what is the mercenary caster that's got a bunch of AoEs and blast damage, and he boosts blast damage?
Durgan.
Durgan, that's it. So he played Durgan with a bunch of blast. We discussed before the game, like, do you know what my stuff does? He's like, well, I have, I've seen about Tharn, I've heard about Tharn, right? Okay. Any models, any questions, no problems, right? Here we go. Feast, I get first. Feast runs up into this beautiful little spot behind a building. He immediately sort of forgets what Feast does, wanders up, casts everything, tries to boost some blast damage onto Feast, then works out that it was mathematically impossible to kill him with the blast damage because he was on 19. And he couldn't get line of sight to him, and then he ran his Colossal up base to base with his caster who's on 0 camp. Storm Raptor walks up, zap, 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 Feast comes in, caster dead.
Weren't you tempted to get some CPs, or at this point you couldn't make it into
I'd
top
already
8?
lost a game. I was like, I can't. Like, to be honest, the blast didn't sound great for me. Like, the amount of blast and continuous fire he had, I could see his thought process into why that might be okay into Tharn. Because they don't like continuous fire. They don't like boosted high explosive blast. And I just didn't fancy that. So when he's like, here you go, have my caster, I was like, oh, thanks very much.
Take it.
I'll take it, yeah. So that was my round 3.
All right, interesting. So round 4, it's the last game of the day?
Yep.
All right, and what was the scenario?
Mirage.
Okay, so let's start with James.
So this round I'm drawn against Robin Anderson, playing Circle, again.
Hey, go Robin.
And I end up playing Harby Morph 2 again. This is a slightly different list though. He's got 2 purebloods and he's got, what else is in that list? Wolf Riders, bunch of
It doesn't matter. He's got two purebloods and a prayer.
So I think we come to the roll off and he wins the roll and elects to go first, which makes a lot of sense in the matchup, right?
Yep.
But what ends up happening is I get to choose the side, and I choose a side with a conveniently placed forest just out the kill box. I can hide behind for most of the game, which is quite nice when he's very telegraphed, in a very telegraphed way, he's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
So Harvey spends the entire game behind this forest, but even that's not enough to keep us safe. He still gets a couple of goes at me. And, to go through the general activations, he runs up turn 1. Turn 1, my Judicator walks up, scatters some blast, kills 2 Wolf Riders just with random deviations, which is
that happens.
quite nice. Couple of boosts, couple of dead Wolf Riders. He takes his turn 2, comes into a few of the scenario elements, but not too deep. He's obviously seeding a couple of points for my turn. He's not going to try and do anything to give away too much.
During your feat, right?
This wasn't my feat. No, I didn't feat. I didn't feat bottom 1.
He gave you scenario points before.
No, I'm saying he's basically seeding scenario points to me to score on bottom of 2.
Right, he's seeding ground to you,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Rather than coming into me too hard. So bottom of 2, I make a bit of a mistake this turn. So I end up scoring the middle flag, my right flag, my zone, and Judicator shoots his objective, kills a couple more Wolf Riders with blast, like you do.
Kills the objective.
Kills the objective. I score 4, but I've also forgotten to put an Idrian in his zone, so he scores 1 as well. Unfortunately. Yeah, and this is my feat turn, so he can't come too deep into me. But also, my feat's kind of mitigated by the threat he's placing on me. Harby can't really stand where she wants to because of the purebloods. If I'm standing in my zone, stopping him getting in, I get 2 purebloods right to the face and probably die. So it's forcing me back behind the forest. So I can't stop him contesting my zone. So when it comes to his turn, he clears his flag. He clears the center flag, I think, with Feast in the end. Because Feast, ports into my feet, so he doesn't take the damage. So he clears his flag, clears my flag, clears the center flag, and clears his zone. So he scores 3 as well. But the main talking point of this turn was that after he sent Feast in to kill this bunch of Idrians, he's puppet mastered Feast, right? I think it was this turn anyway. If not, it doesn't matter. It's an interesting talking point. So he sends Feast in, kills his Idrians, gets loaded back up on souls, and then he spots that there's an Idrian in a forest that's in Feast range of Harbinger, basically. If he hits this Idrian, needing a 10, then he can get Feast onto Harbinger, is the play. Okay. So he's got 3 chances at it. He's got Puppet Master, he's got the Morve rerolls, and he's got the initial roll, so he's got 3 chances at a 10 to put Feast in melee with Harbinger.
Did you work out the chance of that?
Yes, we did. He asked me to at the table, and it's 41%.
41. All right.
41. So he tries it. It doesn't come off for him. But that entire time, I'm shitting myself, thinking he's got a 40% chance to just kill me here, right?
If he lands it, you're dead.
Well, I've talked about this since and worked it out, and
Because I don't think you are.
no, there's actually because he's already used his charge attack, and because I'm full health with three or more camp, I think he basically can't kill me.
That's what I was feeling. Like, did he have anything else? Could he get a pure blood charge after that? Or
No, nothing like that. I think we were both just thinking we were both thinking if Lord of the Feast gets in here, Harby's dead. But that's really not the case. I was just scared.
Yeah.
I was very scared.
Harby then can't heal the next.
She can't heal, and probably takes 8 boxes, 9 boxes. So yeah. I mean, in retrospect, I didn't need to be quite so scared about that assassination attempt. But he does have a better one later on.
Okay.
So we basically just playing the scenario and kind of both ticking along quite evenly. I've killed one pureblood at this point, I think, because the Idrians prayed it and I got some good Judicator blasts onto it. And things like that, I took a bunch of boxes. But it basically comes down to where he's losing on clock, he's losing on scenario, and he's losing the attrition. So he's got this one turn where he's trying to force Ravagers into my flag to kill all my dwarves, and I'm taking a few martyrs grudgingly, because I don't want all these Ravagers coming into my dwarves, because they're being held off by one dwarf. So, from the one dwarf is engaging the wall in melee, basically. And his vengeance, he tries to kill this dwarf a couple of times, and I sort of grudgingly martyr him. Because I don't realise that the pureblood's actually in spray range at this point. And then, I catch a glint in his eye at some point. I can tell, this pureblood's coming in, and I measure it up without measuring it. And think, I have to stop martyring now.
Okay.
So, it basically comes down to the point where I'm on 10 boxes and 1 camp, which is obviously enough. And he comes in with the pureblood, and he's looking for he's got 2 rerolls, right? And he's looking for 10 to hit, because he's in ore, obviously. And then he needs a 15 to kill me. 3 dice.
Okay.
A 3 dice 15. So he gets the first 10, which means he's got 3 goes at this 15. And luckily, he doesn't roll any of them.
Okay.
The chance of a 3 dice 15 is 24%, I think. Of rolling one of them. Sorry, of rolling one of the 3 chances.
Yeah. I happen to know that with 5 rerolls, it gets close to 50%, because Ben Hampshire has been spending the entire weekend talking to me about how you can get the maximum number of rerolls in Bump in the Night with Grave Digger, with Grave Ghoul, something else.
Objective.
Yeah, he's just been getting very excited about being able to reroll something 5 times. He's 15? I got you, no problem. Here you go.
As you'll know from Morph 2, it's a surprisingly powerful effect, isn't it?
It's sick.
Multiple rerolls.
I had an assassination, not in the Welsh, but in a different tournament, where I got the assassination, and we had a look later, and he was like, do you know that was a 46% assassination? I was like, yeah, I was in a bad position, went for it. He said, do you know what it was without the rerolls? I was like, nope, 5%. Because there was a lot of rolls involved. Lots of them had to be re-rolled. Morv was left on 2 boxes. So it was pretty interesting that re-rolls really have a big impact.
Yeah. So anyway, as it panned out, he failed that assassination, which was 24-25%, which was a decent attempt for him at that point. But
Circle against Harby, you'll take 25%. Yeah.
I mean, exactly. I think that was the best chance he was going to get to win the game at that point. Because
and when it failed, he was fucked, right?
Yeah, he just lost the game from that point. Okay. There was basically nothing else to be done. I think he ended up clocking out, but I think he'd lost on every other metric. I'm looking at the tiebreak thing, and it's 13-9 on CPs and 86-15 on VPs. So I assume it was quite over.
So Robin lost because he eyeballed the distance between Harbinger and Pureblood.
Oh, I was saying I eyeballed the distance.
All right.
But you caught a glint in his eye when he was looking at the assassination. To be honest, I've done that a couple of times. There are a time when you feel your opponent just getting tense, and you're like, "Whoa, hold up! What did I just do?"
Exactly. It's I could feel there was a very distinct purpose to these attacks that were making me martyr. And I think you've got to learn when that's happening as a Harby player, because people do it. It's it's a pretty solid strategy, right?
It's one of the only weaknesses is that that martyrdom does happen to have a negative effect. I realise it rarely comes to fruition, but it is there. So yeah,
it was quite an interesting game, like trying to deal with the two purebloods, like in a way that was didn't completely screw me, but because like she's got to hang so far back, like against that kind of threat. Because if he puts two purebloods on me with like max rerolls, I think I die by just about always, right? Maybe not always, but it seems.
I was going to say always is a strong one, isn't it?
It's 84% or something like
this. It gets very likely, basically.
Yeah. What's just to confirm? I'm pretty certain, but Ore doesn't get affected by Blessed, right?
No, it doesn't. No, it's just -2 attack rolls.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think that the mistake was to go first? He should maybe go second, not give you the forest,
I think that might have turned out better for him in terms of trying to get the assassination off. But if he goes second in the matchup, then he's immediately like down on tempo, because I've played it quite a few times now of these various Thar matchups, and it feels very tempo based. Like the person who gets up into the middle of the board and sets up kind of ends up like dictating the game.
If he goes second, he's in a world of pain, right?
Yeah, because straight from top of two, Judicator starts firing onto all of his stuff. He's got Hand of Silence in the middle of the board, who he can't really interact with, and is very difficult for him to kill. My champions are halfway up the board as well. So I feel like you really want to go first in that matchup. So I understand his instinct to choose that path, basically, even though it gave me the forest. I don't.
Do you think he noted the forest, or do you think he just went, "I've won the roll, I'm going first"?
I don't know, to be honest. He did express some regret after the game about giving me the forest, so maybe not.
Right, okay. So my round 4 was against. Now this is weird because on Facebook he's got a different name than I know him by. So I know him as JCL.
JCR, you mean? Jamie Cook Rogers.
JCR. That's what I meant. And anyway, on Facebook he's got a different. Anyway, fuck it. Right. So JCR, also playing Harby. Again, like I played him in the last. So he was my final opponent in York. Also playing Harby back when I was playing Legion, and then he was my last opponent here. And we both came to the table and just sort of laughed. Like, this is not what we need. I mean, like. It's an interesting thing because it's like, this is not what we need at the end of day 1. We do not need a round 4 Harby Morvana 2 grind, which, as you say, is a long game.
Such a long game.
And I knew that I had dinner plans immediately after the round ended. And I was like, as soon as I saw his name, I was like, right, well, that's not happening, is it? I'm not making that time. But on the flip side, he's such a lovely gentleman, and we've had such a couple, like every time we've played, which is admittedly not many times, but we've had a great discussion, we've had great games, very close, super mannered. You can't ask for a nicer game state atmosphere.
So nice to play against. So nice.
Yeah. So it was sort of like it was a weird ambiguity as you're walking towards the table, like fuck Harby, but also nice bloke, and also third Harby of the day. So no, that's a lie. Second Harby of the day. Sorry. Anyway, this one I lost. So I basically lost on everything at the end of the game. Ran out of time. As a result, he could control the scenario better than I could. I was running out of models. I just couldn't get through. My general game plan of pulsing away his martyrs and pulsing, and then sustained attack on the monks, get some more martyrs out there, and get the wolf riders in, and try and use up his shield guards and all this sort of stuff. Try and get feast in if he makes a mistake. He made fewer mistakes than my previous opponent, as in very few. The ones that he made weren't super impactful. My dice were just a little bit short at times, not super impactful, but just enough where I was never able to tick Harby down into the proper danger zone. There were a couple of moments when he wished he was wearing the brown trousers, but it wasn't like quite there. And I never quite got it. And I did put some pressure on, but I never quite got it. And as I say, I ran out of time. I ran out of chances. And Harby did what Harby does. She ground me out. It was an amazing game, and about half an hour later, I managed to make it to dinner. So and we sort of said, look, I'm absolutely exhausted. I can't possibly discuss that match, but I'd really like to. So we had to have a chat about it the next day a little bit, and frankly, I really should get in touch with him and maybe see what he thinks about the list that I'm putting together. Tweaking that list. It was a good one. So that was the end of day one. What did you do for dinner? Did you were you with a group or?
Yeah, I went out with Jake and Mark and the rest of the nights and a few other.
Oh, why? You went to the all-you-can-eat place, right?
No, we didn't. We didn't end up going there. We ended up going to Wagamama's.
Okay.
It was quite nice.
Yeah.
We went with a few of the Scottish guys as well, who are always good.
Yeah, always a laugh.
And and the draw went up that night, so we all knew who we had next round as well.
Oh right, yeah, I was pretty happy about mine. What did you get?
I got Grimkin. I was extremely not happy.
Yeah, I feel your pain. How many clockatrices did he have in the 3 lists combined?
I think he was probably about 6 or 7.
Really? That's
my guess. Let me check his lists actually.
Normally it's about 4 in each list, and usually most of them have got one with about 6 in.
Oh, everyone's playing the Dreamer 2x, the Arc.
The 2-2-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 2 in Dreamer list, 3 in another, and 4 or 5 in.
Oh no!
I usually see 2, 4, and 6.
I'm looking at it now.
Or 2, 4, and 5.
I'm looking at it now. He's got 2, 4, and 4. So he's actually got 10.
Right. 10 clocks, right? Okay.
10 clocks.
That's pretty standard. Pretty average, I'd say. I think 11's more usual. So you go into bed and you've got 10 clocks. You're in your nightmares.
Well, I was talking to him as well on Facebook about the matchup, and we were like trolling each other a bit because I know Dan pretty well. We talked about.
Sorry, we didn't say who it was. So who was your opponent?
It was Dan Scotland or DSL, as a lot of people will know him. And we've talked a lot. We talked a lot about Protectorate in the past. He's a big Harby fan too. Now he's playing Grimkin because he's a dirty traitor.
I like the. I feel like you were going to say something worse there. Anyway.
Well, it's because Protectorate have such a Grimkin problem. He basically decided to leave Protectorate and go and play Grimkin.
Ah, yes.
The worst possible reason.
To be honest, I got a similar sentiment from Amelia that was also there because she's still trugging along with Legion, and bravo to her. But she came over and she was like, "So was it worth it to betray Legion?" I was like, "Yes, yes, it was." But yeah, so I guess he probably feels the same way. Anyway, so you got Dan, and that was on Pit 2.
It was on Pit 2, which was pretty good for me actually.
Okay.
We played all the live scenarios day 1, right? So we were just left with Pit 2 and Invasion. I was actually really happy about that.
Fair.
I did not want to draw like Grimkin on Mirage or Spread the Net or something where, I've got to spread out and he's got his gremlins just fucking around.
And what did you say, when you say you've got to spread out, does that mean you're not playing Harby?
I am not playing Harby, not this round.
Krios 3.
Why?
I'm playing Krios 3 because Harby has a really appalling problem with Grimkin, basically. In that
Which is the death knell.
It's the death knell, but it's also the Accursed Arcana. Do you know which one that is? It's the one where you hit them. Well, amongst other things.
Yeah.
So you hit a model with a corpse, and basically Dreamer then projects for 1 round a 14-inch bubble of Grievous Wounds.
Lovely.
So there's that. There's the fact that my Harby list doesn't hit that hard, and there's a bunch of Grimkin heavies and clocks, and I'm mostly a melee list, and there's a lot of problems basically. There's all the entropic, there's the accursed, on top of being super tanky. So Harby's
you've got this Krios 3 list that's designed to deal with this problem. So talk us through it. How does it deal with it? What's the game plan?
So the game plan is that I get up the board as fast as I can. I hit insanely hard. I kill his boys, I can knock his boys down, shoot them with Judicator, and Krios 3 acts as
How are you knocking his boys down?
Oh, I should have mentioned that, shouldn't I? Krios 3's got Force Hammer, and he's effectively a Magic 8 caster with Sev-Zero. So as long as clocks stay out of 3-inch of Cage Rages, then I can force some of them, knock them down, kill them with Judy. That's sort of the game plan for
Have
Gateway.
you run the maths on Judy killing a clock?
It's pretty likely.
Is it? Yeah, like
if
70, 80, 90?
So Judy by himself is like 55, and then you add in the force hammer damage, so it's like a boost of 13.
Okay.
Then, so it's not unlikely that I also get Avenger charge at that point.
And how is Vlad? Sorry, not Vlad 3. How is Krios 3 not getting just killed by clock sprays and silliness?
Because he's 14, 18, and with 18 boxes and camps, 2 or 3. Then...
So he's able to do the force hammer boost, and he doesn't need to do much else, and he's able to camp.
Yeah, he's fine.
Right, okay. Sorry, I've never seen Krios 3, so
that's understandable.
Did he pick Ruin Arcana?
He didn't pick Ruin. He picked Labyrinth and Sacrifice in the end.
Think it was a mistake?
No, I think Sacrifice turned out unpleasantly well for him, unfortunately. And Labyrinth I'm not so sure about, because I was a lot faster than him anyway. But I can see his reasoning.
Okay.
So what happens is he wins the roll. He gives me first, which I'm not sure was the right play, because, Grimkin players like to go second. They like to start scoring. They like to take the relevant terrain. So he goes second to get this big house on his side of the board that he can, pivot around to try and break up my alpha, basically.
Sure.
But what he also gives me is, every one of my models just runs to the middle of the board, including Krios. So he's just, he can't step forward without, being in my Venger charge range, in Judy shooting and spraying him, just, all sorts of trouble, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So when he gets his, he does his bottom of one, he moves up really cautiously, doing Grimkin things, just putting everything in Artifice of Deviation, that kind of stuff. And when it rolls back around to my turn, I've got a pretty solid kill on a clock that I'm intending to go for. So I get Harmonious on Krios. I do the Force Hammer thing, because it's not, it's not within 3 of a Cage Rage to cancel it, which was probably a mistake on his part, to be honest.
Okay.
So I knock it down, do the boost of 13, roll pretty well. Judy walks up, sprays it twice, boost damage on the second one because I don't want to knock out an aspect on the first one and it hop out of my arc. So I put a bunch more damage on it, and then I get 1 Venger charge onto the clock with Ignite, so they're POW 17 signs importance.
So hold up, the boosted Force Hammer plus Judicator didn't kill the clock?
It did not kill the clock, because I didn't take my rockets on it, because he ported into Crabbit range.
Oh, okay.
So if I shoot him with the rockets at that point, then...
So you kill a Crabbit, and then he could technically
exactly. So instead, I just say, I'm not doing the rockets, not firing anything. I'm going to charge you with this Venger. And I need a boosted... I need a Signs Importance 10, basically, to kill this clock. And I roll a 9, and leave this clock on 1 box, and on fire. And, there's nothing else to put into it, right? So at the end of my turn, I pass, he takes the fire roll, it goes out, he's got a clock on 1 box, which is... And my head just, drops. I think that's it, the game's fucked. He's going to get another free heavy, basically.
Yep.
As it pans out, this clock ends up just, running behind the house. And there's literally no way to not trigger Sacrifice on it. So, he gets that. I feel like garbage.
Right.
And we go from there. So, his turn 2, he takes a spray, kills a Incinerator, gets up in the zones a bit. He's not really contesting my left zone with the left zone with his objective on, because there's 5 Vengers in it, and anything he sends in there dies.
Yeah.
But also, similarly, I can't actually score that zone because my Judicator's on the other side.
Right.
So he kills the Incinerator. He puts loads of Dreamer stuff in front of my army. All the crap that she sends out every turn. So he's blocking off his boys with gremlins, putting pinatas in my face, little mice, things like that.
Yeah.
And because he's procced Vengeance, though, I can actually clear them with the Incinerators pretty well. And
okay.
I think the way that turn pans out is I end up killing a clock. That's about all I killed that turn. I kill a clock with Judy and maybe Avenger.
And did he sacrifice?
He did sacrifice and full healed his other clock, which, was pretty upsetting.
Damn.
Yeah, I was pretty upset, but I'd kind of become accustomed to the idea at that point. Nothing I can do about that. that clock's healing.
Yeah.
At least it can't charge me next turn.
Right.
I kill the other clock, pass to him. He ends up coming in with some stuff like his Cage Raid just to clear my zone, kill my objective. And the Gorehound comes in, kills a couple of knights. Which, it's going quite well for him. He's like up 2-0 on the bottom of 2, which is pretty good.
Not bad, yeah.
Oh no, sorry, bottom of 3, that is. He's up anyway, basically. And he ends up committing quite a lot in the end. So he's got 2 Cage Rages in my zone, one of which was killing maybe a Incinerator in my zone, and the other ones were killing an objective so he could score. And what ends up happening on the next turn is I kill both those Cage Rages. I kill Skin and Moans. With I think Judicator kills the Skin and Moans, and the Dervish and the Knights Exemplar kill the 2 Cage Rages.
This is presumably under Labyrinth.
Yes, it's under Labyrinth, but he's not catching everything because Dreamer's hiding behind the house.
Okay.
So I get a lot done that turn basically, and it's at that turn that's top of 4, and it kind of pivots towards being in my favour because he's lost.
How many heavies is he down to now?
He's down to, I think, 3 heavies at that point, maybe 2.
Okay, and what are you sitting with? You're sitting with Judy, a full unit of Cinnies, or like a half unit, or?
Oh, I remember why I killed the Skin and Moans that turn, because he sent the Skin and Moans into Judy basically, and it didn't. It did like the previous turn. He sent a Skin and Moans into Judy. Did about 40 boxes, I think, and I healed it, killed the Skin and Moans, then killed the 2 Cage Rages. Yeah, so he's down to 2 heavies at this point.
Okay.
He's got the got 1 Skin and Moans left, and he's got a clock that's contesting the zone over on the other side, put the Avengers in.
Okay.
And then his turn, the other Skin and Bones comes in, kills Judy. But he's kind of like got no stuff left at that point, right? Because that Skin and Bones is basically dead as soon as he commits it, because there's Krios standing there, there's Vengers standing there, there's Incinerators there.
Yeah,
so he's kind of got nothing left at that point. So I think what ends up happening is he runs out of time. Just trying to pick up some extra VPs and CPs.
Right, trying to work it out.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Can I ask, because I think it occurred to me, so maybe it'll occur to others. He dropped Dreamer.
Yes.
His child, not for example, my local Grimkin has triple the games with Child that he does with Dreamer because he just thinks it's superb, just better.
I think it is a good list, but
you weren't worried. Would you, if you'd seen, if he'd said, "Yep, I'm playing Child," would you thought have been, shit, I was hoping he was going to play Dreamer, or would it have been, oh my god, this is amazing for me. Now I can do X.
I'm not actually sure because obviously I haven't played that Child matchup, and he's got 4 clocks, which is pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, because he's only got 1 Cage Rager, so it's hard for him to cancel the Force Hammers and stuff. He doesn't have all the nonsense that Dreamer does, like Artifice of Deviation
and mice
and all the mice and the elephants and stuff. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that goes.
Not sure.
Is there a death knell in
there
the
There is a death knell in his child list. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I know Ben plays one with no death knell and 7 heavies.
Yeah, that's the one my local plays.
Yeah, I think that's quite scary.
What I'm saying. Experience. You're I've managed to kill 3 heavies. That was a great turn. Oh shit! I've got 4 Grimkin heavies coming at me.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what happens if he drops the Child. Actually, I'd be interested.
Did you chat with him? Did he when the lists were announced? Did he sort of nod like he knew what was coming, or did he go, "Oh my god, Krios 3, what does he do?" Or
no, he knew that I was going to drop Krios 3. Really, I think because we'd been trolling each other a little bit about what the matchup was going to be, and I've got. He knows from experience, because he knows me, that I like dropping Krios 3 at random moments. And that I love Krios 3. So okay. I think he saw it coming.
Right, he felt that might have been on the card. But then, so clearly he felt that Dreamer was the matchup there.
Yeah, I think, I'm guessing that was the case.
I'd be really interested to ask him. I remember I'll try and do that.
She's got some good tools for the matchup. Artifice is really good. And, I've only got so much stuff, so I can't really deal with the, all the hat-trick stuff too well.
Right.
So she's got some good tools. So I think, I'm not saying he made the wrong drop, but he said himself afterwards he was a little bit disappointed with how he played.
Okay.
So,
but yeah, I mean, against yourself without sort of blowing any trumpets, you can't afford to make many mistakes, otherwise you are going to be in trouble. So, yeah.
Not against the world's best Krios 3 player, TM. Whatever that means.
Yep. No, I think you can take that title. You won the Welsh. You've got yourself what you want. So my round 5 will be nice and quick. I played against a very nice guy called Calvin. He had the misfortune of playing Legion, and he was playing Animag, which he'd played about 5 times, and I've played more than 100 times, I would say. So I knew his list significantly better than he did. I played Iona and just took him apart. There was a feast turn, like turn 1, I think, bottom of 1. I was looking at Warspear, Chieftain, and 3 or 4 Warspears, and I was like, nah, I can get more. So, and I did. I got like 3. I got a Night Witch onto the Chosen, removed the upkeep. Then got Feast in and got Grievous Wounds and killed 2 Chosen. Killed Amok and 2 Warmongers. And put Grievous Wounds on everything that I didn't kill, and then just murdered. He'd forgotten about Ambush. Ambush came in, killed some stuff. I mean, it was just Iona doing Iona things, and he decided to charge my Storm Raptor with his Blightbringer just to try and get victory points.
Do you have an ambush in Iona list?
Yeah, I've got a Bloodweavers and Haruspecs.
Oh, so you dropped 2 Wolf Rider champions?
Yeah, I've got 1 Wolf Rider champion, 1 White Mane.
All right.
So yeah, ambushed him. Murdered. He decided to kill the Storm Raptor with the Blightbringer just to get some victory points. Pulled it off, very nice. And then a Wolf Rider champion murdered Animag that was on 0. So that was that.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. So we go to semifinals. It's Invasion.
Yep.
All right. So, James.
Yep, I end up playing Rhett again for the 3rd time this weekend. I'm playing against Lorenz Tanguy, who I don't know if I've said his name in any way right, but he's a Belgian guy, I think.
Fair enough. Belgians are doing pretty well that weekend, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Wout was also undefeated at that point, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, he continued to be undefeated till the end and finished 2nd. He did a golly.
So yeah, he drops Gareth 2 into me, and I drop Harby again, because that's just what I'm doing this weekend.
Sure.
Is this Gareth have tridents?
Yes, he does. He has tridents this time, and he has Moros, which is also very scary. Because you know Moros.
Moros being the character Jack.
Yes, I think he threats 18 in that list.
Right.
And with acrobatics, which is quite scary. And paralysis as well. So
Sounds almost like a clockatrice. Not quite as good.
Pretty good, though.
Pretty good.
So I can't remember the exact turn details of this game, but I'll give you an overview at least.
Sure.
So, with spoilers before I start, nobody scores a CP in this game at any point.
And what turn did you finish on?
I think it was about turn 5.
Wow.
So no one scores a CP. Just get that out of your heads now.
I'm having trouble, honestly. I'm thinking, so that's bottom of 2, top of 3, bottom of 3, top of 4, bottom of 4, and it's like still nothing?
It's Invasion, it's Harby.
It's Invasions.
Nobody's got a CP.
Objectives?
Nope, no one kills an objective.
Alright.
Because he's busy trying to kill my actual stuff. And I'm just sitting around in my zone. So what ends up happening is, like, turn 2, he goes first, unfortunately, again. I would much rather have gone first. So turn 2, he goes for a big play where he Mortality's Judicator, because I was really unsure whether it was better to no spells or no shooting, because he's got the 2 tridents.
And you can give both of the magical weapons or just one?
He can't give any of the magical weapons. So
marvellous.
So I do no shooting. but then he ends up mortalitying my Judicator, which is also problematic. And he basically puts every shot in his army into it, which nearly all of them get shield guarded, or I think actually all of them. But then what he does have after that is 6 charging halberdiers and 1 Moros with concentrated power but only 2 focus, who gets into Judicator. And I think we mathed it out, and it was basically exactly like 50-50 to kill Judy. And as it pans out, he leaves it on 5 boxes, but mortality obviously, so I can't heal it. It's lost both of its arms, it's lost movement, but it's still got Cortex and Superstructure.
So it gives 0 fucks.
Well, it gives some fucks because it's got no arms.
On this day, some fucks were given.
So yeah, that's his big top of 2 play. But it's worth noting at that point that he spends about 27 minutes doing this. So if I take my turn, the last action of his turn was for him to shoot and kill one of my initiates. So I let this guy die to trigger Hand of Vengeance on Judy. So Judy goes up to Mat 8, POW 25.
When he'd spent the 27 minutes, did you mentally switch to I'm going to clock him?
Oh god, yes. Like this is a matchup that's going to be super grindy, and I just thought, he doesn't have time to finish this game now. Like, no way. No way.
So it was a conscious thing. It wasn't like he just ran out of time. It was after that turn you said, right, my win condition is clock here.
Well, I think I had other win conditions that I could go for. Like, I was, just trying to maintain parity on attrition, trying to maintain parity on scenario, which obviously we did because nobody scored.
Oh.
I was just trying to kill his pieces as best I could, I killed quite a lot in the end, and he killed quite a lot.
Did you kill on the turn when he was crippled to hell?
He killed Moros.
Okay.
So he was just boosting needing sign 6s, basically, and then hitting, like, dice plus 9 or something. So,
yep, fair and balanced.
So he kills Moros in 2 hits, and then...
With crippled arms, yeah.
With crippled arms. And then... oh yeah, because he needed like 4s on both dice to kill on the the single signs dice.
Right.
Broken arms.
50-50.
Yeah, more or less.
Right.
And then I clear up all the halberdiers. I feat so more halberdiers can't come into Judy. And from that point, we just keep grinding. From that point, basically, he's never got like a good kill on Harby. We're just kind of maintaining the zones, but he is like absolutely bleeding out on time.
What did he kill the Judy with?
I think he ended up killing it with, like, I had a bunch of shield guards, so I think he just put, like, all of his trident shots into it in the end.
Okay, and he just got there.
Oh, no, it wasn't the trident shots, because I know I did, it was his electro... It was his electromancers and the trident. Shield guard and the trident shots, and then he got the, the D3 shots for the electromancers.
Oh, right.
That ended up just, like, tickling him to death.
Nice.
So yeah, he got Judy that turn. Yeah, then we go back and forth. We do some attrition. Hand of Silence does like Hand of Silence things and just like kills a light and does some like good work. Stands in the middle of the board, being unkillable. But the main
boy is a bit silly. Like he needs a little touch.
Yeah. No, he's fine. He's only insane with Harbinger, right? Like,
sure, but that's a problem.
I think you should look at touching initiates before you touch him.
Well, I mean, I'm already. Trust me, I'm on board. Like.
So the main focus point of that game is that he's got so little time. Like he moves into turn 3 and he's got like 25, 26 minutes left.
Right.
He moves into turn 4 and he's got like 8 minutes left. And he's
That's
just
not what you want to be against, Harby.
No, he's just like bleeding out on time. He can't do very much with his activations because he's got no time. I'm taking these long, luxurious turns where I do as much work as possible, put things in all the right places, and then he's having to like rush. And he ends up clocking basically, and I've got like 20 odd minutes left. And there's not much you can do about it from that point. He just took too long on that turn. And it was a good turn for him, but like it wasn't worth losing the game for.
That's exactly what I did against JCR. So I had one good turn that was an absolute beauty, but took me about half an hour. And it was like, well, fuck.
It's like
I looked at the clock after I'd finished it. I clocked back to him, looked at it, and went, "Uh-oh." And I looked up at him, and he was looking at the clock as well, and he was just like,
I think it's like a serious like peril that you've got to be aware of when you're playing Harby. Like you can't spend that long taking the perfect turn. Sometimes you just gotta, go. I guess.
Got to throw some dice. Yeah. Yeah. No, it was pretty brutal. All right. So you won. What was the actual win condition in the end? Was it clock?
It was clock, yeah.
Right. Okay. So my round 6, also an invasion, was also against Harby. But this was Ryan. Forgive me, I've not got his second name down here. One of the British locals. I don't know if he was local to Cardiff. I don't think so. I could be wrong. He had a similar list to you, I want to say.
Oh, right, okay.
I know that one of the Harby players had 2 units of initiates, and I was just like, there's no acceptable reason for that other than you couldn't get hold of the models. And sure enough, he couldn't get hold of the models.
Oh. I mean, you might not believe it, but there are people who deliberately put 2 units of initiates in their list and not the third. I know, it's insane, right? Like, I don't know that it's like they don't understand that 3 is a bigger number than 2.
And that 3 is really good. All right. Well, anyway, so it was again a Morvana 2 Harby grind, but it was simply a case of he made more errors, and he made one catastrophic error, which is that he chose the wrong side of the table. So not only did I win the roll to go first, he just eyeballed the space to put his wall, which I'd also eyeballed, but we had a different opinion. And he thought it was fine, so he chose this side where there was a building and a wall and a hill, and he just couldn't put his wall anywhere. So his wall had to go off to one side, so he had to have Harby basically on one side, like almost, I think, in a circle zone, I want to say, on invasion, behind a building, which meant that he could only just touch the rectangles, the circle zone on the other side with a monk. And he couldn't move Harby, because if he did, he couldn't contest the circle zone, or the monk just died. And his Judy had to be on that side, because all of his clumped up army was on this side with Harby. So his Judy's on the other side, but then that means the Judy's kind of stuck behind a wall. A little bit. So that just wrecked his whole game, because my Storm Raptor basically just ran up into his face, pulsed, got 13 models, and then repositioned forwards, basically. Because I just said, look, I've got Skyfire up. Your Judy can't get to me, physically can't get to me. And anything that you send in to hit my Storm Raptor is going to die, and you're going to have to martyr even more, and you've just martyred a ton. And Feast was able to go in after all this nonsense had gone, because he'd used so many shield guards to try and stop the chaos that was going on with the pulse. So on the second pulse, when I came in and got a similar number of models, Feast then got in as well and put in a chunk onto Harby, killed a bunch of boys, killed Hierophant, I think, and Wolf Riders were starting to get around the back. Like, his whole game plan was just crumbling around him. And in this game, my Gallows Grove didn't die and was able to just come up 5, because his Judy was trapped behind a wall. I kept jamming it with stuff. So I put a whole unit of Bloodweavers into it just to slow it down. Put some more stuff into it, Ravagers, Bloodweavers, just slow it down. And meanwhile, the Gallows Grove was just going, move up 5, move up 5, move up 5, kill everything in the 5 inches, move up 5, kill everything. So he screwed himself with positioning, had a bad day. Maybe he was tired, it was a long weekend, happens. And in the end, I won. I think I killed Harby. I'm pretty sure I did. Pretty sure I killed Harby with Beast and a Wolf Rider champion, I want to say.
That's pretty rude.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the Wolf Rider champion is real good. Because even though it doesn't get the back strike bonus, it still gets the back stab bonus.
Yeah.
That's rather tasty.
All right, let's move to finals.
Yes. This I really want to hear about.
James?
Yep. So finals was on standoff again, because we had to recycle one scenario. And I ended up playing Brett Wilkie, who's on the England Lions, and he was playing Circle again. I had some inside information from the previous round in which he'd played Pear, and Pear kind of told me what he did, and it kind of shut me up a bit. what Brett's strategy was. So Brett ended up playing Boulder 1 into me, basically, and what Pear was telling me before the round was that Brett had basically like feated on him aggressively with Boulder, and then run his Storm Raptor into Harby's face, and run Getterix just behind it, and made it impossible for Harby to escape. So I was very conscious of that going into the round. I chose Brett run the roll to go first again. I didn't have much luck with that this weekend.
I was going to say, that's another theme of the weekend, isn't it?
Didn't have too much luck with that. So yeah, Brett wins the roll to go first. I take a side with the Forest on. Partly because I didn't want any Forest. I wanted to control where the Forest was for Forest Walk shenanigans. I didn't want Boulder like being able to place the Forest down on my face or anything. So turn 1, he gets up, pretty aggressively. The Raptor comes up, almost the halfway line, and I do quite a cautious turn 1. I move up a little bit, get my initiates in the right places. My Adrians go to ground. They're trying to challenge the Blood Trackers over on that side, but they're not very good at it. But it doesn't matter. They're going to take some shots, and that's their job.
Did you prey on the Blood Trackers?
No, it's on. I actually can't remember where I put it. Maybe it is on the Blood Trackers. It's either on the Blood Trackers or the Ravagers. Something the Adrians would actually be able to deal with. Like, so someone asked me why the Adrians were like on that side engaging against the Blood Trackers, and like the truth of it is, on the other side they're going to face a Storm Raptor, which is like insanely like bad for them.
Yeah.
There was no good matchup for them to go into, basically. So they were going to die, and they were going to take some shots for me. So yeah, I move up quite cautiously that turn. Brett comes into me really aggressively with Boulder's Feet. He positions both the Storm Raptor and Getterix exactly like a millimetre out of 7 inches of Judicator, because that's how far Judy threats under Boulder 1's feet.
Okay.
So they're both standing there, ready to total my Judicator. And then, he's got a bunch of Tharn boys. Like, there's a couple in my zone, a couple in my, the round zone to the right. And he passes to me, and this is where I've got to admit, I tilt quite badly this turn, and it's available to see on the video if you want to. But I end up swearing at Brett's dice a little bit.
Okay.
Because basically what happens this turn is I'm trying to clear these 2 Ravagers out in front of Judy so I can, like, successfully get stuff in front of Judy so he doesn't die. Like, get some initiates there, get Hand of Silence there, etc., etc. But what ends up happening is Brett passes 8 consecutive tough checks. And not all on this turn, to be fair. Like, I'm trying to clear these 2 Ravagers out, and he's got solid ground up, and I forget to purify it first, so I was annoyed at myself for that. So these Ravagers that are stood up, like, I take Judy's activation, and he toughs 3 times, and none of them die.
Then you purify.
Then I purify and feel awful about my life.
Right.
Then I
toughs again.
Then I purify, and eventually, like, with so many activations, these Ravagers like get knocked down and die, because they don't die to any tough checks because they pass all of those. I think that's 5 tough checks right there.
To be fair, generally speaking, as far as I'm aware, like, I'm on Brett's team and I hear people talking about him quite a bit in terms of his dice, and he's got famously bad dice.
Oh, really?
So, like, when people say, "Oh yeah, it was Brett dice," what they usually mean is that they've gone to absolute shit. Like, so, like, for example, I remember I came up at York and there was a game between Brett and Pat, and Lord of the Feast under Baldo 1 with Signs Important, Stone Skin, Puppet Master, and every other buff you can think of. Divine Inspiration as well, I think.
Without Divine Inspiration.
Was it without?
Yeah, he doesn't have Blood Shaman.
He didn't have Divine Inspiration. And he's so he I woke up to the game and I was like, "So how did it go?" And he said, "Oh yeah, Dreamer just tanked Feast. Like, like to the face, and I was like, oh yeah, haha, of course he did. Walked off, assuming that Pat had just that Brett had won. And then I found out later that he actually had. And that Brett's dice had just shit the bed, and he actually hadn't killed Dreamer despite being on it. So yeah, Brett's dice are normally very, very bad. So I think what you've got there is just a little swing of karma, which just you've been unfortunate that Brett's dice have finally decided to behave.
Oh yeah, it tilted me a little bit, but
fair enough. Tufts will do that. Yeah.
I recovered eventually. So that turn, I ended up just like clearing these 2 Ravagers, feating, so more stuff can't really come into me too well, and scoring my zone. I can't contest his zone because it's Boulder One's feat, and Brett's been pretty decent about making sure I can't contest. So we both score. We move into his turn 3, and basically his turn. He doesn't get a lot done because there's Blood Trackers shooting some Idrians, but I don't really care. And, no one really cares about the Idrians, right? And his plan for contesting my zone is, like, what's Boulder's plus armor spell called again? Stoneskin. He Stoneskins his Ravagers. He charges them into my zone. He charges 2 into my champion, takes the POW 14. My dice swing back a bit and kill both of them. But they tough anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then the one who's come into my zone dies again to a retaliatory strike from the champion, and then toughs again. And then basically what Brett's trying to do at the end of his turn is, because I was expecting Getterix to try and come into Judicator at this point, but I can see that he's not doing that because he's put these 2 Ravagers there, which kind of block up Getterix's line. Okay. So what he ends up actually trying to do is he warps Murderous with Getterix, and he comes in and tries to kill a champion he's the only model contesting the right-hand circle, because he's killed my Adrians. There's this champion there. He's been dismounted by Ravagers. He's just, standing about. But the amount of attacks Getterix gets into this champion, he can't finish him through martyrdom, and I martyr all the way down to 2 boxes, basically.
Right.
I martyr down to 2 boxes, making sure Brett can't score this zone. So that turn he scores up to...
Just to check, how much time did you spend checking that he couldn't kill you on those 2 boxes before you went down to them?
I didn't spend any time checking it.
He literally had no possible way to hit Harby, or you just have balls of steel?
So a bit of both, right? So what I had around Harby was my feet. So no Blood Trackers are coming in.
Right.
I had 6 shield guards. I prevented any possible landing spot for Lord of the Feast. And I'm behind a forest. Or at least I'm partially behind the forest, partially behind the Judicator. So
what's going to get to you, really?
Exactly. It's like, I didn't check, but intuitively I know that I'm safe, right?
Right.
So I feel very comfortable martyring all the way down to 2, and it doesn't matter. I think that champion toughed once that turn out of like 8 tries, but
ouch.
So I was complaining about my RNG at that point.
Right, the Ravagers are eating up all the tough rolls.
Yeah. So he only scores 1 that turn when it could have been quite a bit worse for me. And I think Feast comes in at that point, at that turn 2, kills some initiates. I think he kills a unit of initiates basically. And then I think Brett sequenced his turn slightly wrong. So after the Feast comes in, then his Raptor also goes in after and pulses, and he boxcars the Feast.
No.
He boxcars on the Feast after he'd spent like his corpses, and just like one-shots him. I think he'd taken a couple of boxes from my feet as well, but it was pretty unfortunate for him. I was very not happy not to have to actually kill Lord of the Feast though. Not to commit any models to him.
Yeah, I don't have to do anything. He's just like, oh, he's gone. Right, okay. So he pops in, pulses. What does he get of yours with that pulse?
He hits the monk. He hits Hand of Silence. He hits like a couple of Idrians or something.
And this is on the same turn that he's martyred you down to 2.
Yes, but this was before Getterix comes in, right?
Okay. So he doesn't. These models don't all die. They all get martyred.
So Hand of Silence and the monk get shield guarded. More importantly, by the initiates.
Right.
Because there's initiates everywhere. Because I've got 3 units.
Sure.
So they don't get martyred, they get shield guarded, and then and then just live. And the Raptor doesn't achieve a great deal apart from killing a couple of Idrians.
Okay.
So at the end of his turn, he's got the Raptor in the left-hand circle. He's got like a bunch of Blood Trackers and Ravagers in the right circle, and he's contesting my zone with a couple of Ravagers, and I'm not in his zone. But
he scores.
He scores. I don't score. So he goes up to 2-1, I think, 2 or 3-1.
Yep.
So it's going okay for him. I think he kills my objective that turn as well. He might not kill my objective that turn. I'm not sure. It dies at some point very soon.
So he's probably about 3-1 up, let's say.
Something like that, yeah. So the next turn, I do a lot of clearing up. I kill Getorix with a bunch of stuff, like dwarves and...
What do you kill Getorix with? Because I was thinking about that. There's like 14, 19 or whatever he is with rapid healing.
17.
Pretty good stat line.
17.
14, 17.
Because,
yeah, but you've got blessed.
And he spent all of his focus...
Purification.
He spent all of his fury trying to kill this champion as well, so he didn't spiny. Like, he's literally loaded up, made all of his attacks.
Even if he did spiny, as Tomasz said, you could just purify it, so...
I could, but I'm also on 2 boxes, so I don't want to purify. I'd quite like to heal myself, ideally.
Fair enough.
So yeah, he's 14-17. He dies to like 4 dwarves, a charging unit of initiates, and then some Judicator sprays.
What are your mat fixes in Harby?
Guided hand.
Okay.
So I think I do actually guided hand the dwarves that turn.
Yeah.
So like I do quite a bit of damage with them, and then Judicator finishes him off.
Yeah.
And then I get some rockets into the blood trackers and stuff like that, and clear up a few more bits. So I start clearing up the right zone, kill some blood trackers, kill a couple of Ravagers. The left zone is a shit show because where Harby has to stand, I can't martyr anything in that zone basically, because she's kind of like pinned in by the Raptor and all the stuff he's put around. Okay. So I just contest it with 1 initiate that's left from a unit basically, the last boy in a unit. So it's just a token contesting.
Just a dude for a control point, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But what does happen that turn, most significantly, is the monk walks into his zone. And that's kind of like RIP for his game plan, I think. Yeah. Because what happens the next turn is after the monk walks into his zone, Boulder ends up spending his entire stack trying to kill this monk. Like, he hits him the first time with Weight of Stone. Still ends up needing 8s to hit, obviously. So he's boosting his attacks into this monk. I'm martyring him. He can't kill him. So he just can't score. And that's basically, yeah. Because he's running out of stuff. He's got the Raptor left. Boulder's trying to kill this monk and he can't kill him. And I think what ends up happening at that point, like Brett's very low on time anyway, like down to 2 minutes maybe.
Right.
Like I think he ends like the bottom of 4 with the top of 4 with like 2 or 3 minutes left.
Right.
And what ends up happening is like I'm intending to kill the Raptor this turn with Judicator because it's coming and done a bit more work. So Judicator's going to charge the Raptor. I load it up. But what ends up happening is Hand of Silence goes in charging Call to kill him, basically. And I get like a random assault spray that tags Boulder. And so I don't boost into Boulder because my game plan is not to kill Boulder at this point, like by any stretch of the imagination. But what Hand of Silence does in his own special way is just hit the hard 8 on Boulder. I boost damage, do 11 damage to Boulder, and he's got no transfers. Because he spent all of his focus trying to kill this monk, and the Raptor's full. So he takes 11 from Hand of Silence on this assault spray. Call dies, I put a few boxes into the Raptor with Hand of Silence, and then I just think, like, Boulder's got 6 boxes left. Like, I've got a Judicator that can just walk up and spray Boulder, so I do that, and Boulder dies.
Right. If Hand of Silence hadn't clocked him...
So I ran the maths afterwards. If Hand of Silence does no damage to him, I miss him. Judicator's still got a 75% kill on him.
Right, and had you boosted the hit?
I didn't really think about it, to be honest. It was not in my mind until I hit.
But just, now that we speak about it, like when we see that, we see like a boosted 8 followed by boosted damage of any variety followed by Judicator equals dead.
Yeah, but like I said, it really wasn't in my mind.
It just wasn't your game plan, yeah.
I was just going over there to kill the Raptor, and then like random dice happened and Boulder died.
Right. That sounds more like Brett dice. Yeah, that's.
I think like Hand of Silence rolled like a 15, I think, or a 16 on damage.
Casual.
Because it's dice off 4, right? So he must have rolled a 15.
It was all the Ravager's tough rolls coming back to haunt him. And so that was the finals. Well, congratulations. I realise I haven't actually said that here. And you were a bit busy on the day, so...
I ended that day feeling like so tired. Like, all the games were so draining.
I would just be buzzing so much off the adrenaline and the thrill that I would just not even notice that until I collapsed.
It felt great, but I was absolutely knackered.
I'm presuming that's the biggest tournament you've won. I mean, it's the biggest tournament that there is apart from WCC. So.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't blood and oil, but that was only 64, and then this is massive. Biggest event I've ever been to, let alone won.
Yeah, it was astonishing. It was really, really cool. I've got to give a little shout out to Mark. We asked several people who they thought would win, or who they thought the contenders were. And I thought that the field was so large, it was fair to sort of say, look, give us your top 3 or your top 5. And Mark just said, James Sykes, as his 3. And I thought, that is bold.
Now
you've got a field of 190, and you want to tone your 3 guesses down to 1.
Now he looks completely psychic, though, right?
Yeah. Now he looks like a god. So fair play to him. But I had to respect that.
Another note I was going to make, just in terms of how draining all the matches were.
Sure.
I ended up with absolutely outrageous strength of schedule. I don't know whether you've seen the final tables.
I saw it. It was absolutely absurd.
It's 5 away from the theoretical maximum. So it's 37 out of 42. 42 is the maximum you can have while winning. And it's 37. Insane. It's insane.
I did notice that, and I was thinking that is enormous. My round 7 wasn't a huge deal. It was a very friendly gentleman called Tom. He was playing Kador. He'd been playing Doom Reavers the whole day, and he played 6 games of Doom Reavers, and so I just assumed he was never going to drop into the list. So my Morvana list should be theoretically very good into Doom Reavers. I dropped it, and then I'm suddenly staring down Karchev. And very, very sad. So we then proceeded to play the Benny Hill theme tune, and Karchev just continually walked towards me, and I continually ran round in a circle and chipped away at his jacks. I managed to get the Storm Raptor to kill Sorsha Zero. He then picked it up with a Jack Marshall. I then killed the Jack Marshall because I was putting Wolf Riders behind his back. Neither of us really knew how the whole picking up inert Warjack rules worked. And apparently, I think I've been told after the fact, that if a Jack Marshall picks up an inert Jack, it doesn't go inert again, it goes autonomous, which I didn't even know was a thing.
I have no idea how that interaction works either.
No idea. So anyway, that's what happened there. We ran around in a circle. Storm Raptor basically charged a heavy every turn. He wasn't fast enough to catch up with me. Morvana was occasionally just running 16 away. Karchev chased her around trying to cast spells and kill her. Didn't work. And I think he ran out of time or ran out of models. And that was the end of that. So that was the Welsh Masters. I finished 5-2. Here's your winner, James Sykes, with 7-0, mainly with Harby, but also with Krios 3.
Mostly Krios 3, right?
It was Krios 3 was the clincher, right?
He won the Grimkin matchup.
Grimkin's not fucking about. You need to win that one. To be honest, you must have been so happy not to hit Pat and Matt.
I mean, when they got paired together, I was ecstatic. Not even quietly ecstatic. I was telling people how happy I was.
You were just dancing around in the aisles. Yeah, Harby's only major problem is kin, and 2 of the best kins get smacked up against each other. That is glorious. Right, James, it's been a real pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on and chatting to us. I know a lot of people were really looking forward to hearing about it. And so hopefully, I hope we've caught it. Just a quick afterthought. Harby's position in the current meta, do you think she's number 1, or is she just top 3, or where do you feel she is?
Oh, I think she's extremely strong. She's got very few bad matchups. You can tech really hard into her. You can take Mortality Casters, you can take Grievous Wounds, and it kind of only slows her down. It gives you a game, basically. I've played her into Morv 1, I've played her into Crucible Guard with all their anti-healing stuff, and she still kind of just like powers through based on her card. Like, even outside of Martyrdom, like she's got a really powerful card, like Guided Hand, Crusader's Call, Purification. They're all just like great things, and the amount of resources opponents have to use to deny Martyrdom, like kind of just like tilts the game away from them a little bit automatically. Because like I see people talking about taking like 2 Void Archons and things like that to have a game into Harby.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of thinking like you're giving up 16 points of work in your list to do that. You know what I mean? Like because you've got these two entropic force bubbles, but it's kind of still like
you still need to kill the initiates.
Yeah, you still need to kill them. Like they don't die easy anyway. And like so, yeah, I think she's just very strong. Like into just
number 1?
I don't know. Maybe Dream is still number 1. Like maybe that's faction goggles though, because I hate Grimkin so much.
Right, you've got a weakness into Grimkin.
Yeah, exactly. So she does have her weaknesses, and she does.
When you say weaknesses, do you mean the various Grimkin lists, or do you mean Grimkin and there is another weakness?
I mean Grimkin, and then she's got like a bunch of like people who can tech for her.
Okay.
Like a few things in Scorn, like Makita 3, Mogul 2, you know, good mortality casters that do a lot of work and things like that. So her other weaknesses are if you like teching deep against her, but obviously that's some opportunity cost for the players, so I don't know whether that's going to happen.
And you can maybe drop High Reclaimer in that.
Exactly. Like, but
which is still a astonishingly good list.
Or Krios 3.
Or Krios 3, yeah.
Well, the problem
Depending on how you're feeling.
It's like the problem with High Reclaimer is he doesn't cover Harby that well because he doesn't do the Grimkin matchup very well either.
Right.
You know, you've got a bunch of the problem is like twofold in that they deny healing so well, so Harby's like kind of like meh in the matchup, and then they like all RFP everything.
Yeah, which is sad times for High Reclaimer.
Exactly right. And then you've got Dreamers like spot RFP on top of that with Hat Trick, and it's like just really bad for him. So,
perfect.
I do think like you could actually pair Krios 3 with Harby and it would be pretty sweet.
I'm going to be sad if that works. Right, many thanks. And I know a lot of people sort of wanted to get the chance, and I know we've gone quite a bit over schedule here. Hopefully, Tomasz will work his magic and bring the episode a bit in line. So that's all from me. Thank you very much, gents.
Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, and congrats.
Thank you very much, Thomas.
All the best. See you next time.